Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available where podcasts can be found, and of course, taped live at the twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw here in just a moment. Want to give y'all a quick reminder, the numbers don't lie this Thursday. At the patreon.com/Steve and Larson, part of our bonus lineup of programming. You can also get it by being a Twitch sub. And this week, for the numbers don't lie, for the first time ever, we're doing factions. And this week's faction is Degenerate into something fool. It's DX.
Yeah.
So that's good. So make sure to vote on it. All the people here, forgot to mention that, here live watching on Twitch. We've been on this pre-show here for like 45 minutes. Now that we're finally into the show, please go vote for DX. We want to get these numbers above Andre the Giant last week, which I think is like 120 something.
129. For some reason, that number sticks in my head.
Something like that.
We also got a second channel, Friendo Club TV. Please go subscribe there. Shorter form content from us. We got new stuff like our Big Red handoff skit that we did. Went up.
Skit? Documentary, you mean?
Sure.
It was a documentary.
Synonymous.
The gentleman's agreement, the gentleman's handoff.
Well, I mean, it didn't agree to anything. We got some clips from the podcast, from the pre-show, post-show of our streams. Yeah. We'll probably have some new original programming going up there in the near future. Shorter form stuff. Podcast stuff will go on Going In Raw. Shorter form stuff's going on Friendo Club TV. Give us a sub if you can, please.
Good stuff. It's the new thing. Like I said, we're going to talk about Raw here in just a moment. But first, yesterday's show, Larson, we talked about reports that Shane McMahon, Shane O'Mac himself, here comes the money, is going to be sticking around through WrestleMania following his return at the Royal Rumble. On a recent Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer mentioned that he had heard that WWE had a interesting vision for his WrestleMania match. What was that vision?
So these transcripts come to us from Wrestle Talk. This is what Dave had to say. Quote, Shane McMahon was going to be in the chamber and set up a feud with Seth Rollins for WrestleMania. I don't know if that was going to be for the WWE Championship, was going to be the WWE Championship match. But it's obviously, whether it is or it isn't, that was changed. So I don't know how that relates to Shane McMahon at WrestleMania, but this was supposed to be the step to it. So let's jump back to yesterday as well real quickly. So PW Insider reported that Riddle was at one point set to win the Rumble, a report that has since been subsequently been disputed by Fightful Select. So we say quite often on this show that people have their sources, and when these sources divulge information, they typically or can have an agenda.
Yeah.
And we've seen it, including from Dave, from various places, people saying that Shane had a lot of heat regarding his participation in the Rumble backstage, as far as producing some of it, making changes, something like that. So, as obviously people have agendas when leaking this type of information. And like for the Riddle stuff, I don't know. You can't say for certainty what the agendas are. Maybe someone's trying to make themselves look good. Maybe someone's trying to make someone else look bad.
So that one thing that I've mentioned recently when we talk about varying reports is, here's the thing. Going In Raw, we're a couple of fans who like to talk about stuff. And back in the day, one of the things we loved to do, we just loved to read all those dirt sheets. What was the number one site we used to read back then?
Scoops.
Scoops.net. And it was almost certainly 130% pure bullshit fabrication. Val Venus is joining DX. What? Really? We didn't care. We thought it was great. But that being said, when we're talking about people these days in real lives and stuff,
one reason we thought it was great is because we'd go and we'd read it and we'd come back like, did you read this? That sounds ridiculous. But what if it happened?
It was on the internet. So we didn't. Yeah.
I think even back then we were savvy enough to know just because we read something on the internet, it wasn't necessarily true.
Yeah, even back then we would joke about, is Val Venus finally going to join?
But at the same time, we'd entertain the thought because, oh man, that could be fun.
Well, okay, also, yeah, and then you'd hear things like DDP joined the Wolfpack at house shows, which actually did happen, and so it's like, ooh, anything can happen. And so one thing that we, feel kind of the need to do here Going In Raw is certain outlets will report certain things, and then we speak about the, is there a bullshit alert going on here? Yesterday, when PW Insider reported the Riddle thing, my bullshit detector went off, like, loudly. Didn't make a lick of sense. And sure enough, and Sean's always been, and I'm going to say this, I'm about to read a bunch of this Fightful Select report. And here's the thing about Fightful Select. They're the gold standard.
Absolutely.
Sean Ross Sapp is the gold standard. If he reports it, you can believe it. And if it doesn't come to pass, guess what? Plans probably actually did change. He knows what he's talking about more than anybody. And it
100%.
always cracks me up. It always cracks me up when I see people saying, oh, Fightful doesn't, they just report on stuff that's already, no, this dude has got the scoops, right? And he really kind of puts everybody else to shame because he's so good at what he does. And this is what Fightful Select said. As far as PW Insiders report that Riddle was set to win the Royal Rumble until a last-minute change, top talent and longtime names in the company claim that isn't true, with multiple noting that they've been hearing that Brock Lesnar has been penciled in to be the winner at least 2 weeks prior. People close to Riddle say he was never told that he'd be winning the match, and another person wouldn't reveal who a previously discussed winner was, but said only one was heard about before Lesnar, and it wasn't Riddle. We always suggest you subscribe to Fightful Select because
every time we mention them as a source, we say go subscribe. 1,000%.
The last bit in here is we'll have a lot more on the Royal Rumble this afternoon, and sure enough, and I won't read any of this stuff, but there's a whole freaking long-ass news report on other Royal Rumble backstage stuff. There's a reason why Fightful Select has 5,000
almost 5,000 subscribers because they're the best.
Because they're the best. They really are. And so when I see reports that just don't make a lick of sense,
I will say this,
and the Riddle one didn't.
I will say this: if the Riddle report came out in September, I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense because that's when we were talking about it, about having Riddle win the Rumble and have Orton be champion and they face off at WrestleMania. That's when we were talking about it,
Yeah, because it was like, oh, when are they going to break these guys up? You know, when are they going to do this? But they are so popular right now. They are so popular right now. As far as the Shane Seth stuff, Dave is better than a lot of people give him credit for, I feel. I think that he's probably more reliable than, I guess it's based on his track.
He's gotten bad info too.
He had, there was that Seth, the Raw Seth
backstage
stuff.
meeting thing, which never happened. He's gotten bad info too.
Yeah. I'm still, it'll be kind of a litmus test. And I know, again, I understand that plans change, but it also, the moment that Lesnar originally suggested they do title for title, I was thinking, oh, they wouldn't mention that if they weren't going to do it, I feel, because Vince has that long-standing policy of don't promise something unless you're going to deliver it.
Well, then Brock mentioned it again last night on Raw.
He did, which tells me, isn't he going to walk out of Elimination Chamber with that title?
Let's move on to that because I can't think of a better segue to move on to start talking about Raw at least. So,
sure.
Yes, we had the opening segment where Pierce is in the ring. Lashley and MVP come out. Pierce essentially tells Lashley, hey, you're going to have to defend that title in Elimination Chamber against 5 other people. Lashley, understandably, not happy about it. Brock comes out. And he's pretty much like, hey, I'm not mad at you. I'm facing Roman at Mania, but I'm here to fight now. I want my rematch right now. MVP convinces Lashley to decline. Pierce puts Brock in the chamber match. And when Brock is trying to make the case to Lashley to give him his title rematch last night, he says he wants to do it so he can make his match against Roman at Mania title for title. That's twice they've mentioned this. Now, is it a situation where they had Lashley winning to advance the story with Brock? There's more heat on Roman for costing Lesnar that belt. I can't see, even though against 5 other people, the way Brock is booked now, him taking a pin in the chamber after already getting pinned at the Rumble. Him eating 2 pins in advance of the Mania match. Now, maybe they do something where someone gets eliminated, they open the cage door, Roman runs out, and the Usos, they beat the heck out of Brock, toss him out of the cage, and they just do this thing where since he's out of the cage, he's eliminated or something like that,
Man, I don't know.
That's the only way around it.
I get the feeling on top of that, they're in Saudi Arabia. We just talked about this during the pre-show. They book these Saudi matches for big moments, and Brock winning the title back in front of the Saudi Arabia crowd, that's a huge moment. And then he'll walk into WrestleMania with it.
Let's take a quick break here to get a word from our sponsor, Raycon. So you know, Steve, it's a new year, but not everyone made resolutions for 2022. I know I didn't. But that doesn't mean we can't all shake things up, Maybe try out a new workout routine or travel someplace new. In whatever way you decide to make a change, there's no better way to do it than with a pair of Raycon wireless earbuds in your ears.
Yeah, man, whether you're going to a new gym or traveling to a new destination, Raycon wireless earbuds are the best way to bring audio with you. And their everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound better than ever.
Yeah, they've got optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit. Their earbuds fit so well, they don't budge at all. Whether I'm running or doing burpees, these things aren't moving, Steve. You want to see? Look.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at that.
Not
Shaking
moving.
Your head. Yeah.
No, not moving at all. Not only will they stay in your ears, but Raycons also give you the audio quality you need at half the price of other premium audio brands.
That's right. And right now, Going In Raw listeners can get 15% off their Raycon order at buyraycon.com/raw. That's buyraycon.com/raw to save 15% on Raycons. buyraycon.com/raw. And before we get back to the show, let's get a word in from our sponsor, Factor. Larson,
Yes.
it may be a new year, but I'm the same busy Steve. I got stuff to do for Going In Raw. I got stuff to do for WrestleJuice, the new Friendo Club TV channel. I got to stream, plus watch all the wrestling every week. But that doesn't leave much time for grocery shopping or cooking now, does it? But now, I don't have to deal with meal planning or prep. I leave all that to Factor.
Yeah, Factor makes it easy to eat clean 24/7 with fresh, never frozen, pre-prepared meals that are ready to eat in 2 minutes. And Factor's chef-crafted meals are delivered directly to my door. So that means no grocery shopping, no meal prep, no cleanup, and no washing dishes. I can't stand washing dishes.
Nah, man, I hate that stuff. Anyways, Factor's got a team of registered dietitians and expert chefs who work together to create delicious meals with nutritious ingredients. Plus, Factor's got variety. With more than 27 meal options each week, you'll never get bored.
Yeah, Factor offers vegan and veggie meals, cold-pressed juices, smoothies, energy bites, extra protein and plant-based bars, and a lot more to keep you fueled and focused all day long. You get everything you ever wanted when you're dealing with Factor.
That's right. So head over to go.factor75.com/raw120 and use code RAW120 to get $120 off. That's code RAW120 at go.factor75.com/raw120 for $120 off. Getting back really quickly to the Seth versus Shane thing. If there's any truth to that's going to be still happening, that's a travesty.
It is.
That's a
BS.
travesty.
If they think...
Because there's a certain site that we don't even like to mention because of their business practices. Another site had mentioned, and I don't necessarily believe this, but there was something pitched for Shane versus Lashley. If that's true, guess what? That's a travesty
it's
too.
It's a load of BS as well. Yes.
It's a waste.
There is absolutely one match that makes sense
One
for
match.
Shane at WrestleMania, and that's Shane versus Austin Theory.
That makes
the only match
all
that makes
the sense
sense.
in the world. If anybody's paying attention over there, which they're not because nobody watches this show except for awesome friendos. Shane McMahon and Austin Theory at WrestleMania is the match because Austin Theory right now is the protege of Vince McMahon, and Shane McMahon is his son, and you can do a whole thing there where Austin Theory's a bad guy now. But by the way, they have totally got some. Austin Theory is doing such great work right now, and this dude, ever since his work with The Way, and they brought him back. Remember when he was back with Seth's faction back in the day, and when he first came up to main roster, and it was like he just had zero personality. They weren't letting him showcase anything.
Yeah.
He goes to NXT. Gargano helps him crack it with the way, and he sort of brought that same sort of energy to main roster. And it's like, okay, boom, you got it. This is the guy. He's the guy. And if you have a high-profile situation where Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon and Austin Theory, whatever the story is, and you get Shane to be the bad guy and it turns Theory face, you can run with that.
Yep.
You can run with that. And I don't see why that wouldn't be the most obvious thing in the world to do.
I know. It is the most obvious thing in the world to do.
It writes itself.
And the odds are they're not going to do it.
Yeah,
I hope I'm wrong. I hope to be eating these words.
Too good of an idea.
It's too good.
I'll gobble those words up.
It's too simple and basic, but of an idea, but it's the right one. It's the right idea.
It's the perfect idea.
Right
and you
there.
can bring in the fact that Vince doesn't say happy birthday to Shane.
All that.
There's so much shit you can do there.
Maybe we'll find out what's in the lockbox finally.
Yeah.
This lockbox they referred to when Shane came back to take on The Undertaker. Right. We never found out what that was about.
That's right. Yeah.
We never found out what that was about. Yeah.
You could do
like
that.
when I read this morning, how you felt about the Riddle thing yesterday is how I felt today about this Shane McMahon Seth thing. I'm like, there's no chance.
Okay.
There's no chance this happens. No chance this happens. No chance it was ever a real thing.
Yeah. You're probably right. You're probably right.
Chance.
What makes you say that?
I don't think WWE is. They're pretty darn oblivious about things. I don't think they're so oblivious they'll actually have Seth versus Shane at WrestleMania.
Okay, yeah.
Seth should be doing one of two things at WrestleMania, either competing for the WWE Championship or he and Kevin Owens should be going for those tag titles. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just watching Seth's work. Those are the two things that make the most sense. Those are the two things. One of those two things he should be doing. Anything else doesn't make any sense. Him wrestling Shane, period. I don't care if it's on an episode of Raw. Doesn't make a lick of sense.
Yeah, Shane still can't. He doesn't know how to wrestle. Like you have somebody you have somebody of Seth's magnitude, but I don't know, dude. Like you just said, this is why. Look, I don't know whether to put stock in it or not because it's not something that's as obvious as the Brock winning the Rumble thing. So I just don't know. And with Meltzer, you just don't know. He's Dave Meltzer. Like I still sort of give him benefit of the doubt. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. Again, I'm not saying Dave's making anything up.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's not
just
what I'm
people
saying.
Have their agendas.
I'm saying he's getting some bogus information. Again, people have their sources. Sometimes sources divulge information because they have agendas they want to advance.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There was one period of time when people had stuff that was just obviously like from Paul Heyman. It was this like ridiculously like pro Paul Heyman stuff, and it was like, or like the Fast Nationals thing, like that whole thing, or even worse, they're difficult to work with. Which, by the way, Thursday conference call or a quarterly or earnings call.
I know.
So I know we got a heavy day of streaming, but we got to prepare for whatever that might bring.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know. So getting back to Raw, I suppose. Yeah, once Brock mentioned again the title for title thing, they're not going to tease it twice.
No, they're not, and it's funny because the amount of mental gymnastics creative has taken to get there. So it's like, okay, so we need Brock by necessity to take on Roman Reigns. We want it to be title versus title, but he's not going to enter. He's not going to have any motivation to enter the Royal Rumble unless he loses the title. But we still want it to be title for title, so he's got to lose his title in the first place, which motivates him to get into the Royal Rumble. And so he'll face Roman. We want it to be title versus title. So we're also going to put him in the Elimination Chamber where he's going to win the title back and then take on Roman Reigns. There's got to be a simpler way to have done this without a short transitional champion like Bobby Lashley, right?
I know. It almost kind of seems like that maybe Brock shouldn't have won it day one.
I know. Yeah.
Imagine if they'd followed through what the original plans were. I mean, Brock wouldn't have eaten the pin, have Seth pin, I guess, I don't know who, somebody else, Kevin Owens even. And because even if Kevin Owens, by his own logic he's been using, when one of them wins the WWE Championship, they're both champions. So even by him eating the pin, Kevin Owens, that is, he's still champion. That's just the logic he's been using. Yeah, Seth win, you carry on with whatever you're going to do there. You don't have Brock get the win there. then you don't have to go through all these lengths to get him in the Rumble.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I guess unless they just really want to do title for title.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
and but then
I just think I just think if it's here, this is the easiest thing in the world. Brock goes to day one, he gets the title. All right, that's done. He's got the title. So now you're thinking, how do we motivate him to get to Roman Reigns? It's easy. What Brock wants, Brock gets. And Brock doesn't like being shoved off by Roman Reigns saying, well, it's not my idea. Well, Brock wouldn't like that. So Brock's thinking is, who cares if I'm the champion? I'm still going to get in the Royal Rumble. It's not unprecedented.
I think even when we were doing our predictions, I brought it up, and I don't remember if you agreed with me or not, but at the time I said if Brock wins, I feel like it's more likely he's going to go into the Rumble. For that very reason, as opposed to him losing.
Yeah.
Because if he lost to Lashley, well, the motivation to go after Roman is already there. They spent since what? October, whatever it was, when Brock came back.
Whatever it was, yeah.
Building up to this match at Mania.
Yeah.
They're not going to drop it.
You didn't need for him to drop. I mean, obviously, it's like that's why I thought Brock was going to win against Lashley, is because he went in there and it's like, well, I beat Lashley. My only hesitation on that one was the build, and it was Brock saying Bobby who, which was just really disrespectful, but it didn't matter in anyways, because he's going to end up beating Bobby Lashley at Elimination Chamber with all the other guys. Brock beats Lashley, and he's like, this is the best you have on Raw. I want all of it. Roman doesn't like title for title, so that automatically makes me want to beat Roman title for title. And so I'm going to enter myself into the Royal Rumble because guess what? I'm Brock Lesnar. I can do what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And then he wins the Rumble and he's champion. And that's an unprecedented thing. And that's more of a surprise.
I know.
Because who would expect the champion to still enter the Royal Rumble? But he's Brock Lesnar. He can do what he wants to do.
I know. Well, he did do that when he was in the Rumble when Drew eliminated him. He was champion.
Yeah.
You know, there is some precedent for it. And kind of the way that Brock...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
kind of the way Brock even got in the Rumble was kind of underwhelming. He just was there. He didn't attack anybody. He didn't really take anybody out. He didn't take anybody's spot. He was just there. Like he went backstage and filled out some last-minute paperwork and handed it to Adam Pearce, and he's in the match.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of drama to it.
Honestly, I'd rather that anyways. I'd rather the strongest dude have the title anyways. You know, have the biggest guy against the biggest guy. Title for title. It's the biggest match. It's night 2 of WrestleMania. That's a big deal. That's huge.
It is huge.
That's huge. Why have a secondary? You know, I couldn't stand, back in the day, 2011 or so. When did Edge retire? Was it 2011?
2011.
2011. When him and Del Rio opened WrestleMania for the big gold title, and around that time SmackDown was it was like a clip show basically.
Yeah.
Like it was supposed to be the second brand, but it wasn't.
It was like the B brand. It was the B show.
It really was. And the big gold title was just, I can't stand that. I like when it is, you know, when Drew McIntyre had the WWE title in empty arena era, it felt like, okay, this dude could go toe-to-toe with Roman Reigns. And sure enough, when they did the Survivor Series match, Drew looked kind of stupid in the promos, but they probably had to overbook that shit, didn't they? How did they do that match? I forget. So. It was certainly more competitive than Big E versus Roman Reigns, and I couldn't stand that. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, Big E's your guy. USA's paying. I'll never get over USA. You're paying $1 billion for this programming, and you have like a secondary guy as your champion. Your champions.
Look how Roman dealt with that WWE title at the Rumble. He hits Brock with it, just chucks it to the ground.
I mind that a little less because Roman should think that he's the A champion.
No, I know. I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, this is like continuously where he's burying the WWE title. You know, he called Drew the B champion.
Yeah.
To his face.
But that's why that's one thing that I like Brock wanting to get that title back, because he wants title for title, because he does value that USA title. I call it that. It's the WWE title. He values the WWE title, you know, and that's what it should be. They should be valuing it.
100%.
White Brownie here with our ratings. Raw 1.8 million, 0.47.
Otherwise, Raw was they kept talking to a minimum, focused on in-ring action. It was by and large a fairly enjoyable show. At least me personally. I guess probably you two benefited from recording the show and be able to fast forward through commercials and recaps. So the show felt like it moved at a brisk pace.
Yeah, for me, it was watching two 90-minute shows because I watched the first hour and a half last night. I think I'm going to do that from now. First hour and a half last night.
That's what I usually do. I watch the first 2 hours Monday night and the third hour Tuesday morning.
It was pretty nice.
Much more easily digestible there in that sense.
But what you said is absolutely true. I thought Raw was actually pretty entertaining. It was pretty enjoyable last night. Why? Because of wrestling. Because for Elimination Chamber, they had qualifiers, which I love. I think that's great. And listen to this lineup. You had Austin Theory and Kevin Owens.
Great match.
Which was a really good match. AJ Styles versus Rey Mysterio.
Great match.
Was just a fun, relatively short match, but man, it was fun.
I even thought Riddle versus Otis was really good because Riddle was bumping all over the place, making Otis look like $1 million.
And what did it take to beat Otis? He tried the RKO. It didn't work, so he went to a floating bro, which I need to see Randy Orton do a floating bro.
Yes, please.
Wouldn't that be great? And then I even enjoyed, Dawkins versus Ziggler.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? It's a wrestling match. I don't need some goofy promo between these two teams. Just put on, and Dawkins and Ziggler are both really, really good wrestlers with like wrestling backgrounds.
Yep.
Put them in the ring together and just have them wrestle. I liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
And then you have some goofy stuff with the with Riddle
race.
and Gable and the scooter race, and that was good. So no, I thought it was good. The only thing I thought was lame last night. We can get into this. Was Ronda Rousey's promo because my God, she's a terrible promo. I didn't mind Ronda's first run in the WWE. I didn't really miss her. But when you see her on the mic, just with just the most cardboard presentation, just absolutely nothing there. And then Becky comes out, and what was that outfit Becky was wearing? It was amazing. And she is just charisma personified.
Well, then
she
Ronda
has
leaves.
her spiel.
Then Ronda leaves, and then Lita comes out.
Oh, and she's awesome.
And the back and forth between her and Becky
was so much fun.
Great. It's efficient. They spent like 2 minutes setting up a match.
Yeah. And Lita suckers her into agreeing to the match. You know, just the simplest button pushing.
Yeah.
It was great. I loved it. We're getting Elimination Chamber, Becky Lynch versus Lita. Man, I wish. I don't know what. Maybe it was injuries or whatever. I don't know what it was. But if Lita can come back for a run, that's money. That is money. She's so damn good. They honestly, they really need to put some money into signing some of the, that for whatever reason, WWE, they don't treat women legends the way they don't treat the, women who are in their mid 30s to late 30s the way they treat dudes in their mid 30s to late 30s. If the Bellas can go and they want to, bring back the Bellas. If Mickie James wants to leave Impact and come back for an actual, like a good run in WWE, not that bullshit they had her doing before, have her do it. Look at the work she's doing in Impact right now. It's fantastic.
It's really good.
The older you get more, like, it's funny, man. You look at like what Maria Kanellis does out there, like in Ring of Honor and the indie circuit, stuff like that. Look at what she was doing in WWE 15 years ago. And it's like, you get older, you get wiser, you get more experience. You just know how to talk. You know how to act. There's just more real about you. Bring people back that know what they're doing.
I know.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Lita's awesome, man. And I can't wait for that match at Elimination Chamber.
It should be a lot of fun. Let's jump right into it. So Adam Pearce opened the show. So he recaps what happens at the Rumble, says in 3 weeks, Lashley will have to defend the title Elimination Chamber against 5 of their competitors. He and Lashley and MVP comes out. MVP tells Pearce that this isn't how this works. Lashley pinned Brock. He proved he's better. And now you, Pearce, wants Lashley to defend the title Elimination Chamber. That's not fair. What you're doing is wrong. Lashley asks Pearce, who do you think you are? I'm supposed to be out here celebrating my win against Brock. I knew I was better than him all along. I was a better amateur wrestler, a better mixed martial artist, and a better champion than him. Everybody thought the beast couldn't be slayed, and yet I did it. So to all you Brock fans out there, who's the conqueror now? Who's the beast now? Who's the champ now? Bobby Lashley is.
Bam, 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 bam. So Brock comes down to the ring. He's ready to go. He's got his ring gear on. Gets the mic from Pierce. He tells MVP to shut up or he's going to stick that cane up his asshole. He asks Bobby, he's like, you just stand there and pretend you're the champ? You know you didn't beat me. Where's the pride in that, Bobby? He says the only way you won was because of what Roman and Paul Heyman did. But it's okay, Bobby. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at Roman and Paul. He says, but after that little debacle, I took it upon myself. I entered myself in the Rumble, and I won it. Because I wanted the Rumble, Bobby. You following along? And Bobby's like, yeah, I'm following. He says, I get to choose who I fight at WrestleMania. But don't worry, Bobby. It's not you. I'm going to face Roman title for title at WrestleMania. He says, and that's where you get involved. Because as you can see, I'm dressed to fight. Because I'm ready to fight, let's challenge. He challenges Bobby for the rematch right here, right now. And Lashley's ready to go, man. He's tired of all this disrespect. He starts unbuttoning his amazing suit, by the way.
The suit was great.
And Lashley says, I pinned you once, I could do it again. And the whole time MVP's trying to calm down Lashley. Listen to reason. Let's go for the money. Don't do it here when emotions are running high. And Lesnar said, why are you letting MVP hold you back? MVP says, Lesnar, he finally calms Bobby down and he gets on the mic. He says, look, you can go to the back of the line and earn your title shot. And Lesnar calls Lashley chicken shit. MVP tries to keep Lashley from taking the match. And they finally leave the ring. And Pierce says, the match may not happen tonight. He gets into full Vince voice. He says, but Lashley will defend at the Chamber. And Brock will be one of the competitors. This Brock on the mic, man, all those years, and I know Brock wasn't always a great promo or anything, but that big chunk, like 5 years, where it was the same thing over and over again. Brock coming out with Heyman, Brock standing there smiling. Yeah, exactly, the bounce. And Heyman just talking. I think we missed out on so much good stuff because ever since, from the moment he cut that UFC promo about Miller Lite and Bud Light, it was like, man, and I know there was something about Brock wanting Paul to do his promos, but I feel like they left, like it was just too much of Paul Heyman. They really should have had Brock on the mic a little bit more.
Yeah, no, agreed.
So good these days.
Then we had Rhea Ripley versus Nikki ASH. A relatively quick match. Nikki hits a tornado DDT that gets her a 2 count. She's looking for a splash off the top. Sorry. Rhea evades that, so Nikki's looking to hit her finish, the spinning neck breaker, her finish. Back in the Nikki Cross days, instead Rhea reverses that to a riptide to get the win.
A little hesitation there from Nikki. After that, we had a scooter race between Riddle and Gable. That starts backstage, so it's a 50-lap race here. And Riddle's about to go over the rules of the scooter race. He's got a piece of paper, and Gable snatches the paper from him. The paper just says Gustavo, which is the name of Riddle's scooter. Gable says it's a joke that a scooter race had been included in an academic challenge. Gable says the spelling bee was rigged. He tells Kevin there to give Riddle the rules. They have to do 50 laps around the arena. First cross finish line ringside wins. Gable says he called in some of his Olympic friends to help him to get him a speed skating suit. And then R-Truth comes in to start the race, and then they begin. They're off to the races, so to speak.
Yes. Then we had Alexa Bliss therapy session. I believe this is number 4.
Seems like it.
Continuation what we saw last week. And the therapist says, we talked about Lily last week. I've got a replica Lily on the show to you. Tell me what you feel about that. And so he holds it up, and I think she just goes, Lily. And it continues later on. After that, we had The Miz versus Walter Gunther, whatever his name is. Miz gets the win here with a skull-crushing finale. I did like how he tricked the ref into tossing Ray from ringside. That was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Again, just a wrestling match. I don't need a Miz TV where he talks endlessly about what happened with the Grit couple. It's time for him to get back on the winning streak.
Yeah. Get some wins together to build up to a Mania match of some consequence, hopefully.
Yep.
So the Miz, Ray's ringside, of course. So the Miz with the rest checking on Dom. Miz just like belly flops on the mat. And this gets the ref's attention. He turns around. Miz is like pointing at Ray, saying he tripped me up. And Ray, of course, says, no, I didn't do it. And so the ref just tosses Ray. And Dom just kind of comes to skull-crushing finale. Miz wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so after that, we had Dana Brooke backstage. Tamina tries to lay out from behind. Dana fends her off. And as that's all happening, Riddle and Gable speed by. And they're on lap 18 at that point.
Yeah, I kind of like that the silly scooter race sort of permeated the show.
Yes, it was spread out instead of being one 15-minute segment.
Right, yeah, no, exactly. After that, more of the scooter stuff. Riddle rides up to Amos, tells him he has beautiful eyes. Gable passes him by. Riddle goes on the chase. And then we have the Kevin Owens show with guest Seth Rollins. So Kevin Owens says, the last couple nights have been pretty exciting. He says, we've got an all-new, almighty WWE champion. But it's going to get more exciting because we're on the road to the most stupendous WrestleMania of all time. He says, as exciting as that might seem, he says, you never know what's going to be what's going to happen on the road to WrestleMania. He says, I got a scoop. I'm in the chamber match as soon as I beat Austin Theory. But first, here's my guest, Seth Rollins.
Yeah, so Seth comes to the ring. Kevin Owens asked how he's feeling. Do you want to sit down tonight? And Seth says, yeah, maybe tonight. Let's sit down. I'm not 100%, but I wouldn't miss this for the world. So Owens shows a recap of what happened to Seth at the Rumble in his match against Roman. And Kevin Owens says, I can't sit down. I'm too fired up. He said, what Roman did to you was disgusting and shameful. He got DQ'd because he knew he couldn't beat you, Seth, and he knew that you were going to beat him. And while you might not officially be the Universal Champion, you're the Universal Champion of my heart.
And Seth is he's grateful for that. And he says, while I'm not here with the Universal title, I did acquire something else, a permanent piece of real estate in Roman Reigns' brain. He says, the next time I go there, I'm going to bring back the Universal title, but that's SmackDown's business, and this is Raw. He says, come to my attention that Lashley is defending his title in the chamber. He says, and I got myself my own scoop. And Kevin Owens like, what? You got a surprise? Like, yeah, I got a surprise. Like, well, I wasn't prepared for that, but go ahead. And he says, one of the men who Lashley is going to face at the chamber is Seth frickin' Rollins. And is Kevin Owens happy about this, Larson?
No, he's like, what, you just got in the match? You don't have to qualify?
What, you don't have to qualify? Like I have to qualify?
And Seth's like, yeah, it was because of that. He's referencing the Rumble match. And Kevin Owens says, oh, because you performed so well in that Rumble match. And Seth is like, yeah. And Kevin Owens says, oh, I'm pumped for you. That's awesome. You're in the match. I'm going to beat Theory tonight, but I wonder.
He's clearly not, though.
Yeah, he says, I wonder. What do you think? What do you think Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville are doing right now? And Seth says, oh, they're probably backstage drinking coffee. And Owen's like, yeah, well, what if we go back to their office and say that unless they put me in the match without having to wrestle Austin Theory, that you're going to walk out. And Seth sold this great. He just goes,
I don't.
And Kevin Owens says,
consider this.
well, you're like the top star here on Raw. They wouldn't want you pulling out of the match. Of course they'd consider it. And Seth just says, they might consider it.
Yeah. He says, well, I would do it for you. And he's like, I want to believe you. That was so good. So then finally the awkwardness is broken up by Austin Theory, who comes out for his match with Kevin Owens. And unfortunately for Kevin Owens, who traditionally doesn't go to the Saudi Arabia shows anyways, takes the L here. Mm-hmm. So the finish sort of starts on the outside. Kevin Owens slams Theory's head on the apron on the announce table. He looks for an apron powerbomb, but as he goes up with it, Austin Theory sort of grabs onto the ropes and uses those to slingshot himself into the ring. And as Kevin Owens goes in to follow him, Austin Theory kicks the middle rope into Kevin Owens' dick. And he says, my dick. And then he hits immediately an ATL to get the win. I was going to call it a clean win. It's as clean as some matches are. I mean, he got kicked in the dick with the ropes.
So that's like
the ref didn't do anything.
That's the legal way to do it, I guess.
The ref was standing right there watching it, and he didn't do anything. So how that is okay is beyond me, but it is what it is.
The rule book is a sketch pad, Steve.
Yeah, it's over there.
So we're backstage. The Street Profits are back there. Riddle rides up to him. He needs water, so they hand him a solo cup. And then Riddle takes a drink, says, well, whatever is in there is not a sports drink. So off he goes. So Gable rides up next. He's like, I'm parched. He asks for the Profits for a drink. They say no. They
Nope.
leave. Otis steps in, gives him a cup. Gable takes a drink. Is like, oh, what is this? Steak sauce? And Otis just says, yeah, only the best for you.
A little shade of old Otis. I like
Yep.
that they let that out every once in
Yep.
a while. After that, we had wrestling match: Angelo Dawkins versus Dolph Ziggler. I thought it was great, man. I like that Angelo Dawkins gets. I like when he gets a win. I think that Montez is so good. Sometimes he overshadows Angelo Dawkins, but he ends up getting the win. He catches a super kick, looks for a backslide. Instead, he gets his underhook neck breaker type thing.
What a good
for
move
the
that is.
win.
That's a great
I think
move.
that has a name, but I don't know what it
Silencer?
is that what it's called? Okay.
I think so.
All right.
I think it's called
So
Silencer.
we'll just call it that from now on.
All right, sure. So we're backstage again. Gable and Riddle, they're still riding their scooters. They're on lap 49. And then Riddle rides by, like some sort of concessions thing, grabs some cotton candy, smacks Gable with it.
Yeah. After that, it's come Tuesday. Veer is still coming to Raw. Man, I mean, he was at WrestleCoin last night, so evidently he made it out okay before the entire building collapsed. So
Yes.
well done, Veer.
But he still has not come to Raw.
No, he'll get there. He just
He'll
has a
get
lot
there.
more
He'll come
coming to
eventually
do.
to Raw, yes. Then we get the finish for the scooter race. So you got Kevin Patrick and R-Truth standing at the finish line. Kevin asks Truth, who do you think's going to win? And he says the Bengals. They're in Cincinnati. That gets a huge pop. And so Riddle and Gable, they're approaching side by side backstage. They ride down the ramp, and as Gable gets to the bottom of the ramp, he bites it. He falls off his scooter. So Riddle prematurely starts celebrating. He stops. He starts celebrating. He takes his time riding around ringside, fist bumping fans. And right as he's about to cross the finish line, he spots Otis charging towards him. So he steps off his scooter and gets laid out by Otis. Blasts him off the scooter. So then Gable gets back on his scooter, and he rides around the ring, does a lap around Riddle, and then crosses the finish line. So then Riddle grabs the mic, says, hey, Otis, that was not cool. You ruined the integrity of this race. Gable tells him to be quiet.
Sheesh.
Yes. Asks if Riddle, he's calling him a cheater, because we all know I never cheated anything in my life. I didn't cheat to make it to the Olympic team or to get a master's degree with the perfect 4.0, but it sounds like you're asking for a match. And since you pissed me off and ran your scooter into my prized pupil, I'm going to give you that match against Otis.
My number one guy. So the cool thing is Pierce comes out in advance of this match, says this is now an Elimination Chamber qualifier. So Gable's number one guy versus Riddle. And this is a really cool match. It's Riddle was just selling
Oh,
for
he was
Otis.
bumping all over the place for Otis.
And then Riddle tries to mount a comeback. Otis puts a stop to it with a lariat. You can even see Riddle go up to him and call a spot, say, "Okay, lay me out." Bang, lariat.
Yeah.
So the finish sees Riddle just do a bunch of cool shit to Otis. He tries to go for an RKO. Otis is able to block that. I love that that's Otis's thing. He charges at Riddle, runs instead into a back elbow. Riddle goes up, hits the floating bro, and lands in pinning position.
Like jackknife, perfect jackknife pinning position.
Right, yeah. And gets the 3 count there. But Otis is booked pretty damn strong there.
Then we got Bianca Belair versus Carmella. Bianca got the win here with the KOD. Fun match, though. A lot of really good character stuff with Carmella, especially.
Carmella is so much damn... She does sports entertainment the way it's supposed to be done, man. It is so much fun. The hideous mask of hers is endlessly amusing to me. It hasn't gotten old yet. Because, this one is even worse than the other ones. It has a very, a Man in the Iron Mask type feel to it. It's good shit.
It was good. It was good. So then we're back to the therapy session. So the therapist says, "What do you have to say to Lily?" And Blista says, "Oh, Lily, I've missed you so much." And then the punchline for this, me, which cracked me up, was the therapist said, "Remember, this is a replica. I got this on WWEshop.com." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" They turned this into a commercial.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Hilarious.
Alexa has a tear running down her face.
I know. It was pretty dang funny.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So after that, we had an Alpha Academy interview where Gable says, "Of course I won, and I'm Olympian." He says, "More importantly, I get to pick the next challenge. It's going to be a quiz bowl." He says, and after RK Bro loses their bowl, much like how the Bengals are going to lose their bowl. He says they're going to kiss their title shots goodbye. So RK Bro are totally going to win this bowl situation here.
Then we get AJ Styles versus Rey Mysterio. Hell of a bout.
Let me ask you this real quick. So, like, the title match is probably going to go down in Saudi Arabia, right?
You would think so, yeah.
Oh, wait, no, Riddle's in the chamber match. Never mind. Riddle's in the chamber match.
So I guess it'd be before? Be after? So we have... That's on the 19th, right? So we have about 2.5 weeks.
I was going to say that'd be a killer like match and possible title change for that Saudi Arabia crowd if it was RK Bro winning. But yeah,
I mean,
that's not
it's
going to
possible
happen.
you do both. You do them getting the titles back earlier on the show, and then Riddle's in the chamber match later on.
They could. I don't know if they would do that though. Chamber could be a pretty brutal match.
Yeah.
Although I guess that's sort of more in kayfabe, isn't it? Like, I don't know. People go through the pods. Like, it can be.
Well,
it's
yeah,
like one of those things where it's like,
they used to have like the corrugated steel floor on the outside. That probably really sucked. But I think
that's true. Yeah, that's.
I think
totally
they changed
true.
it up so it's not quite as brutal.
Yeah,
it still looks like it sucks, especially if you're getting your face ground into the chain around the cage.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, AJ versus Mysterio, hell of a bout. AJ gets the win here. First, he hits a Pele kick. It's calling for a Styles clash. Instead, Ray reverses that into a seated senton. He goes up top, hits another seated senton, but AJ rolls through on that one, like seamlessly right into Styles clash position.
Dude.
Bang, hits it.
Oh man, this was such a good match. This goes on the must-see match of the week here.
Definitely.
After that, we had this Ronda Rousey promo, which we just had to see. You know, I'll just say it wasn't that long because she probably can't remember like 15 like pages of dialogue like some of these wrestlers can. Which I don't blame her, but man, it is so. I don't know why they don't have somebody talk for her. Maybe she just wants to do it herself. Who knows? But it's so stiff.
I know.
She says
Not convincing.
she comes out.
It's just not convincing.
And the worst part is the audience piping the noise, the crowd noise being piped in, is so obnoxious here.
It really is.
You could just see people doing this,
And
just,
meanwhile,
arms crossed, and you just hear this. So she says she's been debating since Saturday whose title she wants to take at Mania, Charlotte's or Rebecca's. She says she has unfinished business with both. Says she could choose Becky, but her attention is a compliment she doesn't deserve because the biggest fight for any woman at any time is always with her, and Becky's stagnating title reign is not her problem. He says, but it is Becky's, though.
So again, they're trying to find any sort of convoluted reasoning why Rousey wouldn't just go right for Becky.
It is mental gymnastics here.
It really is.
She says she could choose Charlotte just to prove that prove that as a contender that Becky is still on her undercard. Then Charlotte will know, Becky will know, everybody know the baddest big time bitch is her. And then she drops the mic. That brings out, thank God, Becky Lynch.
Yeah. So she says she calls Ronda a weirdo. Says, I missed you. You're out here using my government name, spewing nonsense. It's nice to see that you haven't changed. But you're losing credibility saying that I'm on your mid-card when I'm the only person in this company who's been able to beat you, and no one has been able to beat me for this title since. Says, I wasn't sure if you'd come back, but now that you have, we both know the biggest match in anybody's mind the last decade is Ronda versus Becky. But seeing as this is your first WrestleMania back, I wouldn't blame you for going for an appetizer like Charlotte rather than going for the main meal. But if you want to choose me as your opponent, I'm game. But if you could please decide soon, the Raw Women's division has never been hotter, thanks to me, and I would like to know who I'm going to beat next. So come on, time is money. Who's it going to be? The people want to know who is it. So then Ronda hits Becky with an arm throw, takes the mic, and then just tells her, you'll have your answer Friday, and then she leaves.
Yeah. So she goes. Becky says, well, that was rude. She says it's official. Ronda doesn't want to face Becky, or maybe she just wants to get out of Cincinnati as soon as I do. She says, go ahead and run, Ronnie. So that brings out Lita. She says, man, she's like buttering up Becky. She's like, what is Ronda's problem with Becky? She's like, she doesn't know. I don't know how Ronda can talk to you like that. You know, Becky, you're the GOAT. You set the women's division on fire. It's never been hotter. And Becky's like, yeah, you're totally right. She's like, you know, Lita, I've been a fan of you since I was growing up. She was like, I might have even gotten in trouble for wearing my tongue outside of my pants. She says, Lita says, that's great, man. The one thing I respect about you is that you're a fighting champ. You never back down from a challenge. And Becky's like, yeah, absolutely. I am. What are you getting at here? And Lita was like, how about me versus you at Elimination Chamber? And Becky like immediately says, no, And Lita says, she's like, come on, you never back down from a challenge, right? She's like, and Becky's like, no, you're taking what I said out of context and applying it to a situation where it doesn't apply. And Lita says, oh, it's a lot of work defending that title. So, Becky, if you're scared, just say you're scared. And Becky's like, I'm not scared. If you want a match at Elimination Chamber, you got it. And Lita immediately starts walking away, and Becky's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, the look on her face. She realized that she got played.
She got played. I thought that was Becky just is doing great work.
Yep.
And
as soon as the words left her mouth that she accepts the challenge, she's like, oh, it was like Job in the Arrested Development. I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah. So, I thought that was good stuff. Let's go ahead and answer a few questions here. I've got our Patreon up. I put up a question thread there. Got a couple questions. Of course, if you're here live in the Twitch chat, if you've already taken the DX survey, you can highlight a message and ask us a question. Wow. There's no way for us to check that whatsoever.
Otherwise, Steve has 2 words for you, huh?
Suck it. No, I'm just joking. You guys can highlight whatever questions you want to, whether or not you've had this. So we're already at 100. We had like 50 people voting that thing just while we've been here today. So thanks, everybody, for your votes.
So
if you haven't,
thank you.
Please take some time. We here in our Twitch chat, we have Real Veer Mahan asking, will they ever let me come?
We hope so.
We don't know. We don't have sources. We're not Sean Ross.
No, we're not journalists.
No, we're like PW Insider. We don't have sources. I'm joking.
Wow.
I'm joking. Come on. Wizard of Smoke says, Seth's wardrobe is wild. Oh, his coat was fantastic.
Yeah, that was off the charts.
He says, it looks like him and Becky shop at the same store and share clothes. Are there any articles of clothing you and the missus share? Yeah, no. So he says, I've had to replace so many hoodies due to girlfriends taking ownership of them. Lacey generally to bed. She usually wears my shirts.
Yeah.
She has taken, or did I get her one of her? She really likes the Wrestle Juice all over print one that I did. So she wears that quite a bit, and she'll wear my hoodies from time to time.
Yeah, kind of the same. My wife will wear my T-shirts from time to time, but that's about the extent of it.
Wolfpack for Life says, my friend works backstage at the arena Raw was at and said Drake Maverick was backstage and talking to the female wrestlers about their match. Could he be becoming a producer? Well, we got a source now. Wolfpack for Life's friend. Evidently, Drake Maverick is working as a producer.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Maybe.
Sounds like it. I don't know.
Interesting.
That'd be cool. That dude's been around for a long time.
Yeah, he's a good wrestler, too. Maggie gifted a sub to Red Queen Rhonda. Thank you so much, Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you. Maggie mentions also Seth was totally wearing Becky's glasses.
Yeah.
I have worn Lacey's sunglasses before. Like most of the ones that she has are prescription, so I don't wear those, but sometimes she's got some glasses.
White Brownie here says, if the second Elimination Chamber match is the number 1 contenders match for Becky's title at Mania, who are the competitors? So you're going to have Bianca. You'll have Liv. You'll have Dewdrop probably.
Yeah.
So we need 3 more.
Carmella, Zelina, probably Rhea. Probably Rhea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's 6. Yeah, Bianca should win that.
They should do like a little tournament or something on Raw. Make Raw better. Yellow Flash says, if Bobby loses at the Chamber, what's next for him? Holy crap. JK Mayhem just gifted 10 subs to the channel. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
What's next for Bobby? How about this? Between now and I don't know, whenever, Priest loses the U.S. title to Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens versus Lashley for the U.S. title at WrestleMania.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
That'd be fun.
That would be fun. Michael Sodope says, I feel like they're missing a big opportunity not doing Seth versus Roman at Mania. I kind of felt that this morning thinking about it after the build to their Rumble match. Imagine if that was for a Mania match. That could be really good.
That could be a summer. I agree. I think it could be a good SummerSlam match. I think getting Brock out of the system is probably the way to go, though. You know,
I just kind of feel like at a certain point that'd be the third time that match is made event of WrestleMania. People might be a little tired of that particular matchup.
Oh, absolutely. But it's a different situation now. Both are doing really great work. I agree with you. But SummerSlam's always a thing. Dog Authority figure. Imagine you're Vince. Ugh. And you finally are ready to debut Veer next week, but in typical Vince fashion, you decide to completely change his look and gimmick. What is Veer's new gimmick and how do you debut him? How about this? You know how Elias died? Veer it gets the reincarnated spirit of Elias, and Veer just comes out as Elias, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?" It's like, and it's never explained. So they just he is Elias now.
They really lean into Veer's backstory, the $1 million arm.
Oh yeah,
and he has a vocational gimmick. He's a baseball player.
He's a baseball player. That's great. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Comes out there and. Who wants to see me hit some, what do they call them?
Home runs? Batting practice?
Zingers? Dingers? Dingers. There you go. Who wants to, zingers are jokes.
Yes.
Dingers are when you hit the ball.
Yes.
Everybody, yeah.
Well, he starts tossing out baseballs to all the people sitting around, you know.
Yeah, right.
Sitting ringside. He'll autograph a baseball, throw it.
And then he kills the ball. It goes up into the top, and there's always like a plant. They cut to like a pre-tape shot of a guy getting hit in the head with a ball. All right, let's start the match.
There we go.
That's good.
Oh, his thing, because he was a pitcher, his thing is always about throwing heat.
Oh, that's good. I like that. He's throwing heat. Speaking of heat, Gregory says if Shane loses his heat and has a match at Mania, who would it most likely be against? Look, we have no idea who would be against because we don't have sources.
No.
But there is only one match that makes any lick of sense, and that's against all-day superstar Austin Theory.
Yep. Agreed.
Let's see here. David Matushek, this is a good point. I meant to bring this up. With Veer speaking during his promo, will this further advance the chances of his finally arriving to Raw on time? Probably not. I have no idea. I loved his voiceover.
Mm-hmm.
I thought his voiceover added so much. He's got some gravitas to his voice, right?
Yeah, I know he does.
Yeah. Bob Zombie, we'll end on this one. Will Charlotte be the babyface or the heel against Ronda in the lead up to WrestleMania? Or will it be Shades of Grey versus Shades of Grey? I think they want Ronda to be like the badass babyface, right? But Ronda just kind of does whatever Ronda wants to do, and she always comes off as like, let me ask from your manager person.
I know.
It's not good. Like, did you watch the little backstage exclusive where she was like, "That's a question"? Like the interviewer, I forget maybe it was Schreiber. Was like, why did you decide to come back now or something like that? And she's like, that's a question? Why did you ask that? I came back because it's WWE and I want to come back.
Is that the same interview where she says that she's not going to worry about how the fans respond?
Maybe. I don't know. It was just like, stop talking now, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maggie says that was the same one. Yeah.
Yeah. I just saw the little bit about that, and you can see the interview, just the little headline about that. I'm like, all right.
I think I actually, because of the first couple of questions, I turned it off. I was like, this is just kind of cringy. I wouldn't want anybody to walk in while I was watching that. Anyways. That's going to do it for us, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry. Zondo here said Veer's new gimmick should be Veer Venus. Lean into his strengths. Coming.
Yes.
That's going to do it, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.